Hi, welcome to another video. So, most AI agents right now are either very impressive but very annoying to set up, or they are made mostly for developers. You can use something like Manus or OpenClaw or a coding agent, and they can do really cool things. But for normal office work, like reading a PDF, analyzing a spreadsheet, writing a report, making a presentation, organizing files, or sending a task from your phone, the experience can still feel way more complicated than it needs to be. And that is why Tencent WorkBuddy is interesting. This video is sponsored by Tencent WorkBuddy, but as always, I'm going to show you what it actually does, where it makes sense, and what I think is the real angle here. So, Tencent WorkBuddy is a desktop AI agent for productivity work. The main idea is very simple. You tell it what you need in plain language, give it the files or workspace it needs, and then it can plan the task. Read the files, call tools, use experts, and generate a finished result. So instead of just asking a chatbot, what should I include in this report? You can ask WorkBuddy to actually make the report, and that difference matters a lot because normal AI chat is still mostly advice. It can tell you what to do, but then you still have to download files, copy data, format the document, create the slides, fix the tables, and connect everything manually. WorkBuddy is trying to be more like a teammate on your computer. You give it the task, and it can do the boring middle part for you. Now, there's also a bigger story here. WorkBuddy first launched in China on March 9th, 2026, and Tencent says in its Q1 2026 earnings that WorkBuddy became the most popular productivity AI agent service in China by daily active users. Obviously, that is Tencent's own claim, so take the exact ranking with that context. But it is still pretty notable because this is not just a random new AI wrapper from a tiny company. It is Tencent pushing a desktop AI agent globally after it already got a lot of traction in China. And now WorkBuddy is going global through WorkBuddy.ai. So let's get right into it and see what this is actually useful for. Once you install WorkBuddy and open it, the main thing you notice is that it does not feel like a coding-only agent. It is more focused on regular office workflows. You can create a task, describe what you want, attach files, and let it work inside a workspace. So, for example, let's say I have a messy spreadsheet and a PDF report, and I want a short professional report with the important trends, a few charts, and a final recommendation. In a normal chatbot, I would probably upload the files, ask for an analysis, copy the answer, paste it into a document, fix the formatting, maybe ask for a table, copy that again, and then manually turn it into something useful. Here, I can just ask something like, analyze these files, create a professional report with an executive summary, key findings, charts, and recommendations, and save the final result as a document. Let's send it and see. Now, what I like here is that WorkBuddy breaks the task down instead of only giving one big answer. It reads the files, figures out what needs to happen, and starts working through the steps. This is the kind of workflow where agents make more sense than chatbots, because the value is not just the final paragraph. The value is that it can handle the process. If it needs to summarize a PDF, clean up a spreadsheet, create a chart, write a report, and save a final file, those are multiple steps. And most people do not want to babysit every single one of those steps. Now, if the output is good, this saves real time. If the output is not perfect, it is still useful because you are starting from a structured draft instead of a blank page. And this is basically the first major reason WorkBuddy is interesting. It is not trying to be the smartest chatbot. It is trying to be a productivity agent that turns a request into a deliverable. Now, the second thing I want to show you is experts. WorkBuddy has an expert center with more than 100 domain experts across roles like writing, data analysis, development, design, business, marketing, finance, and more. This is actually a pretty practical idea because when you use a general AI assistant, you often have to explain the role yourself. You say, act like a financial analyst, or act like a marketing strategist, or act like a product manager. And sometimes that works, but it is easy to get generic output. With WorkBuddy, you can summon a specific expert for the task. So if I'm working on financial data, I can use a financial analyst. If I'm writing campaign copy, I can use a marketing expert. If I'm building a product plan, I can use a product manager style expert. And the point is not just the name of the expert. The point is that each expert can come with more specific prompts, skills, and workflows for that domain. So for this report, I can switch to a data analyst or business analyst expert and ask it to improve the structure, make the findings more decision-oriented, and include charts that actually help explain the data. Let's send that follow-up. Now you can see the response changes a bit. It is not only summarizing, it is thinking more like the role I selected, which is pretty good for sure. And for more complex tasks, WorkBuddy also has expert teams. This means you can have multiple specialized agents work together instead of one model trying to do everything. For example, If I am making a market research report, I might want one expert to research the market, another to analyze competitors, another to turn the findings into a business report, and another to create a presentation. That is the kind of thing where a single chat window becomes messy very quickly. But if the tool can split the work across multiple experts and coordinate the output, then it starts to feel more like a real workflow. And this is where I think WorkBuddy is trying to sit somewhere between a simple chatbot and a full agent platform. It gives normal users a simple interface, but underneath that, it still has agents, skills, connectors, and multi-step execution. Now, the third feature is probably the most fun one, and that is remote control. WorkBuddy can connect to messaging apps like Slack, Telegram, Discord, WeChat, and a few others, so you can send tasks to your computer agent from your phone. And this is genuinely useful. Let's say I am away from my desk, and I remember that I need a summary of a document, or I need a draft email, or I want WorkBuddy to prepare meeting notes from a file on my computer. Instead of waiting until I get back, I can send a message through Telegram or Slack and tell WorkBuddy what to do. For example, I can send something like, use the files in my weekly report folder, summarize the main updates, and create a short status update I can send to the team. Then, WorkBuddy runs on the computer, does the task, and sends the result back through the messaging app. Now, another important part is connectors. WorkBuddy can connect to tools like GitHub, GitLab, Jira, Confluence, Google Drive, Gmail, Notion, and Slack. So, instead of your agent being trapped in one empty chat window, it can work with the services you already use. For example, you could ask it to check your latest GitHub pull requests and summarize what changed, or create a Jira ticket from a bug description, or pull a file from Google Drive and turn it into a report. This matters because most real work does not live in one place. Your docs might be in Google Drive, your tasks might be in Jira, your notes might be in Notion, your team might talk in Slack, your files might be local. And if an AI agent cannot connect to any of that, then you still end up doing a lot manually. So, connectors and MCP support are a big part of the story here. They let WorkBuddy plug into the workflow instead of forcing the workflow to move into WorkBuddy. And then there is the skill marketplace. Skills can add things like web search, file processing, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Office document handling, local transcription, Obsidian integration, front-end design, and more. This is very similar to the direction a lot of agent tools are going in. The model is only one part of the product. The real power comes from giving the agent reliable tools and reusable skills. That is why I keep saying this about agents. The model matters, of course, but the harness around the model matters too. If the agent can read files, use the right skill, call a connector, ask for permission when needed, and produce a finished document, then it becomes much more useful than a normal chat response. Now, speaking of permissions, I do like that WorkBuddy has a permission system, because with a desktop agent, this is really important. WorkBuddy can read and write files, organize folders, generate documents, and run scripts or external programs when the task requires it. So, you do not want it randomly deleting files or changing things outside the workspace. The default permissions mode is meant to let it work inside the selected workspace while asking for confirmation before higher-risk actions, like modifying files outside the workspace, deleting files, or running scripts. That is exactly the kind of thing you want in an agent like this. Personally, I would still recommend making a separate folder for each task and putting copies of important files there. That is just a good habit with any AI agent that can operate on files. But it is good that WorkBuddy is not pretending. Permissions do not matter. Now, let's talk about pricing for a second. At the time I'm making this video, the pricing page shows Pro at around $10 per month during the current discount, with monthly credits included, and the plans also apply to CodeBuddy, which is Tencent's AI coding tool. Pricing can always change, so check the current page before subscribing. But around $10 for a productivity agent is not bad if you're actually using it to generate reports, presentations, research summaries, or workflow outputs. The important question is not whether $10 is cheap in absolute terms. The question is whether it saves you more than $10 of time. And if you're using it for real office work, like weekly reports, data analysis, meeting summaries, market research, email drafts, or presentations, then I can see the value pretty clearly. Now, is WorkBuddy perfect? Probably not. Like every agent, the quality will depend on the task, the files you give it, the model being used, and how clearly you describe the output you want. And for serious work, you should still review the final result, especially if it is doing financial analysis, legal documents, customer communication, or anything where mistakes matter. But this is true for every AI agent. What I like about WorkBuddy is the direction. It is not just another chat app with a slightly different UI. It is a desktop productivity agent with file access, experts, expert teams, skills, connectors, remote control, and permission modes. And that combination makes it much more practical for normal work. If you are a developer, you might still care more about tools like Claude Code, Codex, OpenCode, or CodeBuddy. But if your daily work is reports, spreadsheets, presentations, research, documents, planning, and communication, then WorkBuddy makes a lot of sense. And if you are someone who tried OpenClaw or Manus-style agents but felt the setup was too much, WorkBuddy is probably worth checking out because it is trying to make that agent workflow easier for regular users. So, overall, Tencent WorkBuddy is pretty cool. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you liked this video, consider donating through the Super Thanks option or becoming a member by clicking the Join button. Also, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye.